been frustrated making music. Does it happen often? Like more than you would want by a lot?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna do some technical stuff and show you guys some techniques in Serum and Ableton and some random stuff. But I want to first talk about the importance of mindfulness and creativity, specifically with music production. So this is something that I think literally everybody who makes music on the computer struggles with. Me specifically a lot. And it's something I've been working on for years, and I've sort of started to find some techniques and some ideas that have helped me a lot. I'll be honest, I don't think anyone will ever get away from it completely. There's always going to be a point where you're working on a song, you're like, wow, I'm 6 hours in and this really sucks, but you know what, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go over a few things that I personally find help me a lot for getting out of that frustration mindset, just having fun, not worrying about what's going on, and just getting in a mindset that's going to help you be as creative as possible. So basically the main thing I do when I'm going down to produce, I'll sit down, and sometimes you have in your head, you're like, I want to make this crazy song or a crazy banger or something really cool. I want to make a song that they're going to play on the main stage, right? I try to get rid of that mindset entirely, because if you're focusing on an outcome, if you're like, this song needs to be good, this needs to be a certain way, like, you're going to get frustrated almost instantly, right? Because honestly, even when I make songs that I think are really good by my standards, or something that's not terrible, it almost always starts by accident. So what I've been doing lately when I go down, sit down to produce, is I'll start with just, boombox guy. So I start with just a goal, right? I sit down, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a respace in Serum today, and it's not gonna be for a song, it's not gonna be for something I'm working on. That's another big thing. Every time you sit down to produce, do something fresh. Do not open up your project from yesterday. Definitely do not open up your project from a month ago. If it's 2 months ago, just stop. Just don't even do it. So the first thing I like to do is basically just to exercise, right? I'll be like, all right, I want to try programming some drums. So I'll bring some drums in, process them, get a little groove going, make a bass, do something like that, maybe start writing some music. And what it does is it kind of like cleanses your mind, right? And you feel this sense of accomplishment. You go, okay, I just worked on my synthesis skills, and I feel good. It gets you in a little bit of an elevated mindset. And then my main thing is just sort of practicing making ideas, right? So I'll sit down, make a patch, add some drums in, kind of play around with it, and I'll make like an 8-bar loop or a 16-bar loop. I'm like, all right, that's fine. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad. It could be pretty cool. It could be terrible. But the idea is that you're not worried about the outcome, right? So if you take producing more as an activity to practice your skills and accept that you will every once in a while accidentally start to make a good song, then you're going to have way better results making more music that you enjoy. I've 100% found that if you are fixated on the outcome of creating bangers, and you're like, I need to make the heaviest track, I need to make something that's as meaty as Mastodon or whatever, you're just going to get so frustrated, you're going to start comparing yourself to other people, you're just going to get in this bad mindset, and you're going to get frustrated and not get the results you want. But if you go into it with this more open mindset and just sort of practice your skills and have fun, the ideas sort of come to you. This is actually a really interesting thing. In ancient cultures, like ancient Greece and ancient Rome, the word genius did not mean a person who is a genius. A genius is something that comes to someone, right? So a lot of great artists and a lot of great philosophers believe that artists don't actually create the art, they just let the ideas channel through them, right? So if you get yourself in this open, sort of very neutral mindset, you're much more likely to sort of stumble upon this idea. And a lot of times what happens for me is I'll be messing around with an idea or two, and I'm like, you know what, it's pretty cool, but then I'll change one thing and it'll kind of give me this idea that could be the beginning of a really cool song, right? So by just messing around and having this really chill mind state, then I personally find that that's really, really effective, more so than sitting down trying to make the world's most godly banger and be like, oh, why isn't it meaty enough? I'm frustrated, What do you guys think? Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyone have any questions or input or anything? Or
Yes.
Yes?
All of that.
Okay, cool. Cheers. Okay, so before I start making meaty noise simulations, I want to do just like a quick little breathing exercise, nothing crazy. Everyone want to close their eyes? I'm just going to do a little bit of mindfulness here. This is going to get you in the perfect mind state to ingest all this information all day and become more woke at producing and stuff. All right. So yeah, just close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in. Hold it for a sec. Just breathe out. Then we're going to take another deep breath in. Breathe out. And this is our last deep breath in, and while you guys are holding this one, I want you to visualize something positive about your creativity. It could be seeing yourself in the studio, or seeing yourself having a really good song idea, or just seeing yourself achieving an outcome that you would really like to experience with your music or your creativity. And just feel that happening and feel the positive emotions around that. And breathe out probably at some point as well. All right, cool. Does everyone feel groovy? All right. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Okay. So who here uses Serum? Yep, okay. Amazing. Do you guys mess with making your own wavetables and stuff? Yeah. Show of hands who does custom wavetable work? Okay, cool. So that's personally my favorite feature about Serum. I think it's the most powerful thing about it. Its ability to make, unique source material from samples or other bases is pretty much off the charts. So full disclosure, this is a little bit of a hack technique. It's slightly cheating, but this is actually a really cool technique to make some really cool custom wavetables. So we're just gonna go for it here. I did do a YouTube tutorial on this general technique a while ago. Some of you guys might have seen that. I don't know. Nice. Yeah. Okay, so yes, I'm going to make Serum bigger. Haha. Okay, that's too big. Is that good, guys? Nice. Okay, so this is something that I discovered a while ago where I was messing around with the Serum wavetable import engine. And I was going through the Virtual Riot sample pack. And he's got all these crazy bass glitches, right? So this is why I'm saying it's cheating. So we're going to use some Virtual Riot bass glitches as the source material here. So it is like using someone else's bass, but it's a lot different because it generates an end result that's completely different from the input sound. So it's really interesting, and it's almost like remixing someone else's bass into an entire synth or something. So this works for anything too. You don't have to use someone's bass sample. You can use a sound effect or make your own bass and then bounce it back in. Oh, look, Tiny's in the back. Everybody say hi to Tiny Man. Hi, Tiny Man. Okay, so in my experience, when you're importing into Serum, certain samples work well and other samples just do not work well. Generally, stuff that's short and doesn't have any spaces in it will import the best and get the highest resolution. So I'm just going to go through here and look for a sound that I think is going to be good. Is it loud enough for everyone out there? Could it be louder? Louder? Turn it up a little. Yeah, sweet. Is that good? Yeah. All right. Okay, so for instance, that's really cool, and you might be like, oh, I don't want to make a certain patch out of that, but that's way too long, and the import engine isn't going to be able to make much sense of it. I'm going to try this one. So, are you guys familiar with these modes right here? No? Okay, so basically, the way the Serum wavetable engine works is there's a couple different import modes. So this just is a couple different ways of how that engine analyzes or cuts the sample up into a wavetable. So we can just start with this first one. See how it looks. So you can see it it's a lot different sounding from the sample already, and we got some really cool harmonic content going on. And just for the sake of experimentation here, I always like to try all the bend modes, just to see if anything creates like some extra cool artifacts or some extra cool texture, You want these. Almost the same. It's pretty, So for instance, that one sounds like complete booty. That was all right. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with this first one here. So cool. What do you do next? Hit this pencil up here. This is the wavetable editor. So the next step, when you import your own noise, you want to clean this up and try to make the wavetable as clean as possible before you start your actual synthesis process. Just checking the time. Okay, beautiful. So hit this pencil up here. Opens the wavetable editor. And you guys see how there's all these empty frames at the end, right? Where there's just nothing going on, but it's taking up space in the wavetable. So the first thing that I do, I will go to, where's the thing? There we go. So I'll go here, I'll go to the start of the empty space, and then you go add remove selected to the end. So that cuts out all of the empty wavetables right here, and then we can see we have some at the beginning too. Let's go to the beginning, and I'll just hit the minus on these ones. Boop, 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 boop. And now we have a cleaned up wavetable. And this can always be a good stage to save it at. So just boom, down in there. Then what we're going to do next is start morphing it together, so you start getting a much smoother, cleaner, more usable wavetable like you would have in the stock Serum library. Everyone following?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
How did you save the wavetable?
Oh, you just go here. Wait, how did I save the wavetable? Hold on. Yeah, you put this thing right here.
Thank you.
Yeah, the little, I guess that's a floppy disk. That's kind of old school, huh? Okay, so we're going to go back into the editor here, and the two tabs that we're going to be interested in are Morph and Process. So this is, again, another good place to experiment, just to see what creates the best results and what's going to get you the smoothest and nicest sound. Generally, crossfade's a good bet, so you can try crossfade. So you can see, right now, all we have is 17 frames, so Serum is a wavetable synth, right? So that means that it holds a set amount of frames, and then you scroll through the frames, right? And that's how a wavetable oscillator works. So you can see we only have 17 frames right now, but Serum can hold 256 frames. Where's that dub stuff coming from?
Boombox. It's the boombox guy.
Freaking boombox guy. Okay. So what this is going to do when we crossfade is morph these 17 frames across 256 frames. So Serum automatically interpolates the space in between frames here. So you can see now it has like this smooth fade in between everything. Hear how much smoother that is? Super nice. Okay, we can undo that too and just we can try the spectral one instead. See what that sounds like. Pretty neat. Yeah, let's just go with crossfade on this one. So that's cool. Next step, I usually go process, normalize each. This just makes every frame as loud as possible, just so you get a more consistent volume. You can do stuff like remove the fundamental as well. So that cuts some of the sub-bass frequencies out, because generally you would program your mid-range patches separately from your sub-bass patches. So unless you specifically know that you want sub-bass coming from your Serum patch, that can be a good thing to do, because it makes EQing and keeping the thing cleaner, the patch cleaner, much easier overall. And once you do something like that, like remove fundamental, it's good to normalize again. And now you can see it's all kind of thick looking and nice and textured. We can go ahead and save this again and call it Bass Glitch Crunch Processed. And there you go. So once again, we can just compare this to the source sample here. Oh, wait, that's not the right one. So from that little like neuro hit, we got this whole thing. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend making this your only technique in Serum, but I think it can be a really good in-between place from using the stock Serum wavetables and like synthesizing your own wavetables with a different synth and then bringing them into Serum or building them out of samples, right? Because you know the source material is really good and is generally going to have a pretty good result for a custom wavetable. So this is kind of like it's almost like a training wheels phase before you go like full Serum wizard. But you can get really, really, really good results with this, and I don't think anyone would ever call you up and be like, I know that you made that wavetable from a Virtual Riot sample, man. Like, no, A, no one can tell, and B, we're about to add so much stuff onto this that, you know. Yes?
Have you ever gotten good results by doing the same thing but with just vocal samples, like human voice?
Importing vocal samples into Serum can definitely probably sound good. I haven't had great results. I haven't tried it a ton. There's a really cool synthesizer for Reactor by Native Instruments called Form. That sounds super, super cool for putting vocal samples in there. You can like form it, shift it down, and like make words sound like super meaty basses and stuff. So if you are interested in using vocal samples and you want basses that are actually saying words, I would look into vocoders for sure, and then Native Instruments Form for Reactor. Anyone else have any? Yes, the microphone's right behind you if you want to speak into that.
I was just going to tell you that Toby Noyes has a YouTube tutorial where he does the same thing with vocals.
Boom, there you go. Check that out for sure.
From the video game,
Bloodborne, I think he's doing Bloodborne samples, yeah. Okay, so generally, I'm just going to go through my general Serum workflow right now. I think we're doing good for time, right? We've got 20 words. I'm going to go through my general Serum workflow, and then I'm going to show you guys the lots of OTTs trick. And then I might talk a little bit more about the idea, like the technique of making ideas, or maybe I'll just do Q&A if anyone has questions about specific stuff. So generally what I do, I just start, I'm using my computer keyboard, just for reference right here. So I start looking for a range of motion in the wavetable that sounds cool, right? I start looking for how the synth wants to sound, because every wavetable will have a certain phrasing or a certain automation that makes it talk. Like, I can tell right now, it's got kind of like this dull section down here that's more bassy, and then it has like this wah at the top. And I think the bass kind of wants to go like wah, 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 you know? So like I know I want right there to sort of be the top of the bass. And there to be the bottom. So I'm going to drag out an LFO right here, map it out. And just to make sure I have it in the right position. And you can see the bass is already sort of starting to talk a little bit and get some character and texture. And now we can just start playing with LFO shapes. Don't be attached to the outcome here. I'm just messing around. I'm having some fun. I'm seeing what sounds cool. I'm not too worried whether or not it's good or not. I mean, I'm trying to make it sound good, but just for fun, right? I'm not like getting all bent out of shape over whether or not it's going to be the world's sickest serum patch. I'm not going to lie. Kind of this just straight line up might sound the best here. Lip going into it. So my biggest tip for Serum when you're building your own patches, I think sometimes a common mistake is to try to do too many things at once. You know, people will load up 2 oscillators and get both bend modes going and start putting LFOs everywhere and put a filter on and start putting effects on. And that's fine. I personally find that I get much better results when I go really methodically and I go step by step. So I focus, number 1, getting the wavetable clean. Number 2, getting the wavetable position clean, right? And if you just make sure each step of the way is really clean and you build on top of it, then not only do you have a really good understanding of exactly how the sound is being created and you know where every aspect of the sound is coming from because you spent a lot of time individually on each step of the process, it's going to be way cleaner because you just know that everything's dialed in before you go to the next step. So after wavetable, I usually go for bend modes, right? I'm a huge ASIN minus fanboy. Cycle through warp mode, see what sounds cool, see if anything interesting pops out at me. Try mirror. That one's really weird. I don't really know what's up with that bend mode. You know, I try some bend minus. This is a cool little tip. I don't know if you guys have ever used this. Anyone ever used the remap on here? Anybody? Oh, yeah, Serum power users over here. So this one just lets you, I don't know exactly how it works. Serum is honestly a mystery in many ways to many people. But check out the actual oscillator bending here. So when you draw in, so you're actually creating your own bend mode. I've tried a lot of different stuff. This this right here is like what I always come back to, is just doing this curve. It sounds really cool. It's almost like in between asim minus and one of the bend modes. It kind of gives it like this really squishy sort of growl. So yeah, maybe we can try that, and then maybe I'll do an LFO, but I'm just gonna try bring in the one from the wavetable position out here. Maybe I'll try going the opposite way. And then, as always, to make sure that everything you're doing is adding to what you want and making it cooler or cleaner, I always AD everything as I'm going, so I'll turn the warp mode off. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. It's adding some like meatier, slappier, wetter texture kind of in the lower mids, and then I like the way it sort of pitches that last harmonic down. Let's just compare it one more time. So yeah, that's cool. What do you guys think? Is everyone following along so far? All right. So generally from here, unless I'm doing something weird and I want to play with the detune, this can be something cool. I don't know if anyone has ever done this here. You can just do like 2 voices and then put an LFO on the detune. It's kind of interesting. Hear what that's doing right there? That's actually really interesting. So that's cool. That adds a lot of stereo width as well. I'm just gonna keep this for one voice for now. So now, the next step that I usually do is just a, ye old filter. Generally for growls, I find that high-pass filters are really good for adding a lot of movement and then accentuating one of the peaks that brings out the vowel sounds a lot, right? So this is another thing that I'll start by hand first. You hear how that's resonating right there? It's like lining up with one of the harmonics. So 4 questions. Okay. All right, guys. I got 5 more minutes. Does anyone have any questions about anything else that they want to throw at me right now? Boom. Do you want to go up to the mic so I can hear you? Boom, boom, boom. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I had more time. That was fun though.
What's a good way to add like more harmonics into your mid-low end?
I would say that is a problem or a question that has a lot of different answers. My biggest advice would to be very, I guess, just mindful during your synthesis process. And if you know that you're looking for a sound with a lot of low mids, just sort of sculpt the sound around that. You could also just hit it with a heavy boost on the EQ down there. I've been doing that a lot recently. Like if you boost like, I don't know, between like 120 and like 300, there's a lot of really good like high sub bass, low mid harmonics down there. And if for instance, you could be having your sub bass, right, which is usually just the lowest harmonic, and then you're meshing it with mid-range bass, and then if you EQ your mid-range bass and actually accentuate that first harmonic, so like the 100 hertz, if your song's an E, for instance, and you accentuate like 80 or 100 in your mid-range bass, your mid-range bass is almost going to have like that second higher layer of sub that stacks on top of your sub. So a good answer could be low cutting your basses a little bit lower. I think a lot of people tend to cut their mid-range bass around like between 100 or 150 hertz, right? If you cut it lower, like at 80 or like even 70, just as long as there's no fundamental sub bass coming from your mid-range bass, it won't clash in the mix down, and obviously you can sound design your sub bass a little bit more mindfully around that. But if you have a really strong second harmonic in your mid-range bass, it's going to sound way thicker. And I think that's something that causes like thin sounding mid ranges a lot of the time, is having like a weak 100 hertz or a weak low mid.
Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense?
Cool.
The guys for feedback, Wade Anderson, Eric Bickford, Troy Goins. Can you guys come up here over to the right? Well, Eric, bring your USB video track. If you're not here,
we can also plug it into the 1/8" cable if y'all's got it on that device.
Yeah, if you have it on a phone or some shit.
Max, are you gonna feedback with me?
We got fight. Hey, you want feedback? Yeah.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah, it's a panel.
You want to play some unreleased tunes?
I don't know if I have any on my computer right now. I produce on a desktop. This isn't the computer I produce on. I have a desktop in my studio at home, so I don't have like any of my plugins or any of my tunes. I would show you guys project files, but they're all on my desktop because I produce on like a gaming PC and shit. Sorry.
So yeah, so I didn't. Are you guys out there? Eric and Troy.
Where is the feedback, humans?
Where?
There they are. Come on, come
Come
on,
on
up.
up, guys. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy now.
Bring it over here. Come on over here.
Come on now.
Come on the stage. Actually, you know what? Come around here. My bad. Stage right?
Stage right.
I did theater in high school.
Okay. Are we gonna plug the USB into my computer?
So do you guys have it on USBs or on your phone? Come on back here. You guys are come back here. You're gonna come up on the stage.
I have too much hair.
So here's the deal. So pretty much we gave out, or not gave out, but we allowed like a few platinum bands, and part of the deal of what you get with that is you get to play your track in front of all these guys. What we're gonna do is we're gonna play like the first little bit and the first drop, and then you guys get feedback, all right? So you guys wanna, you got a USB?
Let's see. We should plug this in.
You want to introduce yourself? Say something about yourself?
What's the USB in the hole?
My name's Wade. This is my first song I've ever made.
Give me a sec here. My computer isn't recognizing it. We should get like one CDJ up here. That might be a normal thing to do.
Have you tried setting it on fire?
I'm trying, I really am. Huh? Hey, don't judge my lack of hard drive management skills, man. It happens to the best of us, alright? Yeah. I'm gone. Nice. How long have you been producing for? Hold on, talking to the mic so the humans can hear.
Yeah. I've been messing with it for at least a couple of years. Like I started taking some classes in 2012.
Where'd you go to school?
I started out at Lansing Community College.
Nice.
And then I went to Michigan State afterwards and got a bachelor's. But
Heck yeah. I like it. Yes, it was that on my computer too. Okay. Hello. Oh, yay. Okay, I'm gonna put a flanger on it. Just kidding. We should, Here we go. Nice. I like it. A couple things that stood out that I liked right away was the sort of vocal synthy sounding thing in the intro. It's like a vocoder or something.
Yeah, it
Or
was,
vocoded vocal.
yeah, it was just a sample that I put through a vocoder. And
Nice. The first thing that stood out to me structure-wise was the build was like a little bit hard to follow.
Okay.
It sounded like a little bit erratic, and then the space for the sample was a little confusing. I liked it as an idea. It's just like it could be easier to follow, I guess. But that's it's like make it EDM friendly or whatever. It's like you don't have to, but it could totally work. And then the mix down sounded pretty good. It's hard for me to tell when I'm not listening on like my home studio setup that I'm used to hearing stuff on. It sounded solid. The thing I would try in the drop is just using more space in your flow. Like just having a little bit of space, like an eighth note of space or a quarter note of space in flows adds so much impact. Like a lot of really big songs are all about space, you know? So that's what it's hard for me to remember, honestly. Like there's something in your brain where you're producing, you're like more is better, and you try to put everything everywhere. But when you try to be really surgical and like precise with where you're placing everything and being mindful of creating space and how powerful it is, it can add a lot to your groove. It sounded good though.
Thank you.
Much better than my first song.
Yeah, right, for sure. The one thing that I heard that, aside from like maybe the drums could have come up in the mix, I hate to like just say shit like that, but it's helpful. Also, like one thing I heard about halfway through the drop, one thing you should try with your hi-hats is changing the velocities on each one. Like instead of it going just like you gotta think like if you're a real drummer, you're not gonna hit the hi-hat the same way every single fucking time, you know? So go in manually. Like for me, I use audio for all my drums, so I'll be like 0 dB, and every other one will be like -2, and you'll be surprised like how effective that is. It just like has the whole thing through. I would also like, I don't know how like what you were doing for side chaining, but just like a solid side chain on the kick and the snare for traditional dubstep stuff like this, like wobbly stuff, is great. It's like just makes it a whole lot easier as far as just getting the groove dialed in. Cool, man. Well, you wanna plug your socials? Yeah. Yeah, what's the Instagram?
Tell
everyone
people.
follow everyone. We're a community here, okay?
It's just Snow Bear, and it's just SNOB3AR, because somebody already had Snow Bear.
Bear with a 3, everybody. Yes,
All right, let's make some noise one more time. Snow Bear. Okay, next up, you want to give yourself an intro while I load this up?
Hi, my name's Troy. I produce like melodic dubstep. So I really like the like mashup stuff with like Millennium and Kill the Noise, and Seven Lions and Kill the Noise. Excision's new EP.
Also, this USB is the
Nice.
coolest fucking thing ever. It's
Etsy
fucking
man.
dope. Is that a stash spot?
What is that? Wow.
Okay, so which one is it? Okay, cool. You ready?
Yeah.
Is that on a good volume for everybody? Oh, thank you.
Driving on this road.
intro on that. That was sweet.
Thank you.
You want to go first?
I'll go first. Okay. Yeah, the intro is dope. The one, I mean, all the melodic. I really like that. Like the arpeggiator in the beginning. That was really cool. Did you make those bass patches or those presets?
Yeah, everything I made.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
Nice.
that was gonna be my criticism. It kind of sounds like preset-y a little bit, but like if you made them all, then that's great. It's like a compliment, you know.
I mean, it is kind of a compliment to have your basses sound preset. It means you're good at
But that would be like
it.
constructive criticism, and now it's a compliment. So,
Pretty simple patches.
Yeah, it's true.
Lots of post processing.
Nice.
it felt to me like a little messy at points, like almost too much going on. I think one of the things that you'll probably hear me preach about a lot is simplicity and like just the proper execution. As far as like, I feel like a properly executed, simple and well mixed tune is almost better off than something that's like so much going on, and maybe you might have missed some mixing stuff along the way because of that.
I feel personally attacked.
I mean, like, your music is simple. You just have one wavetable up there.
Hey.
But you know, I obviously you could tell it's work in progress. But you got a great reaction. It was fucking dope. So Eric.
I have very similar feedback to Snow Bear's tune. I just think a little bit more space and like a little, what Max is saying as well, just a little bit more simplicity in the flow. And it is really, I found that to write really effective dance music specifically can be counterintuitive, right? Because it is about maximalism, where you want everything to be as meaty and as powerful as possible, but to make that punch as much as it can, you need that space and you need that emptiness, and you like when you give it that little bit of room to breathe. You guys know Portal by Mastodon or Murata? You know, boom. You know, like that one pause in the beginning of the tune just like slaps you in the face, and it just makes it so much heavier, you know? It's good though, yeah.
Agreed. Well, great job. Plug yourself. Shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, I just have Instagram. It's Where You Goins, Troy. My last name is Goins, Goins.
Creative.
Where you go?
All right, let's make some noise for our boys real quick. Okay, guys, that's our time. Thank you guys so much. I'll take both of those. Thanks. Give me the USB. All right, let's make some noise one time for the man's Squanto. Off to a great start at the producer's end. All right, cool. We got a 15-minute break here. We want to like play some weird ambient music. You guys can socialize, chill, talk amongst yourselves.